What's up, Melanated family? This is your boy Harrison from MelanatedFathers.com and Melanated Fathers TV, bringing you a new video series I like to call What's the Scenario? What's the Scenario will be a video I bring to you every week where we talk about different scenarios going on in our life as Black people, specifically to our relationships, whether it be a relationship with a friend, whether it be a relationship with our female or male partner, and most importantly, what we'll talk about on What's the Scenario is our relationship with our kids and different things we go through, and how to combat that, how to approach things from a different perspective. So by no shape or no form of the imagination am I going to give you answers on the show, but we'll give you different ways of looking at things. I'll give you a different perspective to view something that may have been on your mind. You feel me? So what we'll start with today, the first scenario that I want to talk about, this can be for a father. Primarily, I've seen fathers in this situation, but it can be mothers as well. Building or creating rather a bond with the child that you do not live with. So we know how it is sometimes, right? Your son or your daughter lives with his or her mom. You see him here and there, or you're trying to create a solid relationship with them. But we understand that in order for your kids to depend on you, in order for them to look to you for guidance in the correct way, you have to try your best to create a bond with them. Now, of course, we all know to me, the most efficient way to do this is create a bond with the woman you have the kid with first. Create that bond, make sure that bond is stable. Then when you have the kid, you shouldn't really, at that point, when you love the woman, then you have the kid, you shouldn't really go through too much turmoil as far as spending time and things of that nature, because in those situations, typically your kid is in your house, right? But I'm speaking about creating a bond with the child that does not live with you. So in my opinion, the first thing any man should do if you're in a situation where you don't live with your child and you want to create a bond with them is joint custody. Creating a situation where you're financially stable, your living situation is stable and comfortable for a child. The first thing you should be looking to do is get joint custody of your child. Why? In my opinion, I think a child witnessing you in your home habitat is the best way to create trust. It's the best way to create normalcy. It's the best way to create a lasting relationship. It creates comfort in the child when they know you, when they know what you do in the morning, they know what you do in the evening. And sometimes the only way to create that type of continuity is being in the same house as your child. So joint custody, getting 50-50 split or whatever you and the mother just decide, but joint custody to me, when you do not live with your child, is the best way to create that continuity, and that bond is bringing them in your home at least 50% of the time, right? Now, what if you're in a situation, brothers, where you can't get joint custody for whatever reason? It can be a legal reason. It can be because maybe your shit ain't all the way together the way you would need it to be. Maybe the mom isn't agreeing to it. Maybe when you go to court and try to get joint custody, did the judge say no? Because we all know, in dealing with the child support system, if you've had to deal with that system, it's a crapshoot walking up in there. Regardless of the paperwork you got, regardless of how confident you are, regardless of how prepared you think you are, it's still a crapshoot. It's the judge's decision on what the fuck can take place, right? So if you're in a situation where you can't get joint custody, then it's about creating a consistent presence in your child's life. So how often are you going to get them? Is it once a month? Is it twice a month? Is it every weekend? Regardless of the time, it just has to be consistent, right? It has to be a consistent time that you pick them up, a consistent time that you drop them off. You have to create that consistency. But what happens is, let's say you do get them every weekend or every other weekend, then you have these long stretches of days where they're not around you when they're just with their moms. You see what I'm saying? So what I've learned is, if you are in that situation where it's every other weekend, even every weekend, every once a month, twice a month, whatever, it's important that you create a consistent relationship with them based on common ground. So if you have a child that's young and not talking yet, or not able to comprehend as much, that may be a little more difficult. You may have to be in their presence and try to get them as much as possible to create that. But if you have a child that's a little older and that's speaking, you can go about that by figuring out what they like to do, figuring out what activities they're into, listen to them when they talk, right? So when you call them, you can have something to speak about. You can speak about whatever sport they play, or, what's going on with school, whatever the case may be. But you have to create some common ground because you do not live with them. So the day-to-day activity going on in their life, you're not aware of it. So it helps to ask questions about that. Just create healthy dialogue around what they do every day. Also, any activities they're involved in, like any school activities, anything involving school, when you don't live with them, when you don't have them half the time, it makes these type of events even more important. Then you really have to make sure you're at every game, everything that you can. I know things come up and life happens, but you need to try your best to be at every activity. Anything you can, make sure you're there. Make sure you're calling, checking on the status of games and the status of things that they've talked to you about. Try your best to follow up with them with different shit like that, right? Also, creating a healthy amount of communication with the other parent about rules and regulations. Like maybe you believe in disciplining one way and the mother believes in disciplining another way. If that's the case, you guys are going to have to speak about what she doesn't like that you do possibly, and what you don't, and what she doesn't, and what you don't like that she does possibly. Because what'll happen if you believe in raising your kid a certain way, you have a certain level of standards that you abide by. And let's say your kid comes to your house and they are in agreement with you, they abide by those same rules, they have no problem with it. Well, if the mom doesn't do it the same way when the kid goes back to the mom's house, now they're learning a completely different regimen that's separate from what you do. And because you get them the least amount of time, the regimen and whatever structure is created at the mom's house, that's probably what they're going to abide by more, just because they're there more. So if you're in a situation where you can't be around your kids as much as you want, communicating with the mom about how the structure is implemented in her home and giving your input and staying on the same page, that can go a long way in still providing your kid, some of your ways of thinking and believing, even if you're not in the house. Because if you're not on the same page as the mom, you guys aren't on talking terms, or for whatever reason, you're not able to be on the same page about how to parent in home, like what time is bedtime, what time do they eat, what are the chores like, right? All of these are things that are established inside of the home. And if you don't live in the home with them, you may not be aware of how some of these things operate. So it's important that you get on the same page with the mom about, hey, what time is bedtime, what time is, all of these things. Try to institute the same things in your house, so your kids can have some sort of continuity and consistency. Because, and this is something I had to learn as a father as I've gotten older, it's bad enough that kids have to, if a child has to go to multiple homes, if they have to live with one parent and then go visit the other parent, that's really an inconvenience for a child to have to uproot them, bring clothes here, bring clothes there. The rules may be a little different there than they are there. So this is a unfortunate situation for a child to be in. And just, in all honesty, in my opinion, family, a situation a child shouldn't be in. So if a child is forced to be in this type of environment, then it's important for both parents to try to be in sync as much as possible to make things easier for the child, right? So that's been the first episode of What's the Scenario? For all my fathers out there, like I said, even if some women are dealing with this, but I've seen it a lot in men and myself. Just a lot of the men that I know, we go through these type of things after creating a child with someone that you may not have been destined to be in a relationship with, right? So you got to go through these steps. First things first, you got to make sure your shit is together and you are okay financially. You got to make sure you are okay with your living situation. That's like the first thing you have to establish, is that that's comfortable. Then you go to joint custody. Then you go to just creating something consistent, right? So you go down the line But the point is to never give up on creating a consistent relationship with your kids, because if you're a man who does not consistently get your kids, then, you know, you're kind of up in the air at that point. If you're the kind of man that say, hey, I'm coming to get you and you never show up, or I'm coming this week and never show up, this is creating like a large amounts of mistrust in your child when it comes to you. So, you know, let's try our best, fellas, to be there for our kids, man, regardless of the relationship with the woman. Let's try our best to create consistent environments so we can raise these kids the right way. You feel me? So for more What's the Scenario videos, I'll be posting them on my Melanated Fathers YouTube channel. So please check them out on there. When you check out the videos on YouTube, please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube page. That is Melanated Fathers TV. I'm out.